You ever have that feeling, that nagging sense that even if you got all the success in the world, there's still something missing? Well, that exact feeling has pushed some of the most brilliant people on the planet to look for something way beyond money and fame. And today, we're diving into a story that connects, of all places, Silicon Valley to a humble mystic in the Himalayas. It's a kind of blueprint for finding inner peace in our crazy, chaotic world.
So let's just jump right into the mystery. What on earth could possibly connect the founder of Apple and the creator of Facebook? We're talking two of the biggest tech titans ever. But the answer wasn't some new technology or a billion-dollar deal. Nope, it was a search for something so much harder to find: meaning. And that search led both of them, decades apart, to the very same tiny ashram in India.
And this is the man they were looking for, Neem Karoli Baba, or as his followers called him, Maharaj-ji. I mean, look at this photo. You see a guy wrapped up in a simple blanket. He looks more like a kind village grandpa than some global spiritual icon, right? And honestly, that's exactly where this incredible story really begins. So how does a man with basically no worldly possessions become a spiritual guide for the absolute titans of technology? Let's trace this fascinating and totally unexpected connection. Okay, so it all kicks off back in the 1970s. A young Steve Jobs, feeling pretty lost, travels to India. Now, he actually arrived just after Baba had passed away, but the time he spent at that ashram completely reshaped his worldview. Just think about it for a second. The simple, intuitive design of the Apple products, that whole minimalist philosophy, that wasn't just a smart business move. You can trace the roots of that thinking right back to the clarity he found there. And then, years later, when Mark Zuckerberg was hitting a wall with Facebook, who did he turn to? Steve Jobs. And Jobs told him to make the exact same trip. And the influence doesn't stop there. It's touched everyone from tech CEOs to Hollywood stars like Julia Roberts. But to really understand why he had this incredible pull, we need to look past all the famous names and get to know the man himself. And what you find is just a total study in contrasts. And this is what's so fascinating. It's the gap between what you saw and what you felt. Outwardly, Baba was the definition of simple. He owned almost nothing. But people who met him, they described this overwhelming presence, a kind of magnetic joy, and a deep, deep peace that just radiated off him. And maybe the weirdest part? People swore he had this uncanny knack for answering the biggest questions in your heart before you even said a word. And here's the thing you have to understand. He wasn't a teacher in the way we think of one. There are no books he wrote, no complicated doctrines to study. His wisdom wasn't in some long lecture. It was just in the way he was. It was in his simple actions, his loving presence. His whole life was the lesson. So what was that message? Well, it was far from some escape from reality. His wisdom was actually a super practical blueprint for finding peace right in the middle of our crazy, busy, modern lives. This quote right here, this is the heart of it all. He was basically saying you don't need to run off to a monastery to be spiritual. Your office, your kitchen, your daily commute, that is the real place for practice. It's all about changing your perspective, not changing your address. And the path he laid out was surprisingly simple. First, do your daily work, do it well, but let go of being obsessed with the results. Second, really try to see a spark of the divine in everyone you meet. Third, find a simple way to connect with your own heart, whether it's quiet reflection or a simple prayer. And finally, and this one is huge, serve other people. He taught that serving others is the highest form of worship there is. This one line says it all, doesn't it? An ashram isn't some building you escape to. It's your life, right now, with all its messiness and its joys. That is the sacred space for your growth. Now, no story about Neem Karoli Baba would be complete without getting into the stories of miracles, the stuff that really blurs the line between what we think is possible and, well, the impossible. And naturally, this brings up a big question. It's one that his followers, including actual scientists and psychologists, have wrestled with. Are these just amazing coincidences explainable by science? Or do they point to something deeper, a spiritual reality we don't fully understand? I mean, the stories his followers tell are just mind-bending. There are accounts of him literally being seen in 2 places at once. One family, totally stranded by a landslide, swore they were led to safety by this kind old man who turned out to be him. Then there's the story of a businessman in New York who had a vision of Baba right after a near-fatal car crash, having never even heard of him, only to see his picture months later and recognize him.
These stories aren't really about proof. They're about opening our minds to the idea that reality might be a whole lot bigger than we think.
So what does this all mean for us, right here, right now? This isn't just some cool story about a guru and his famous followers. It's really an invitation to start our own invisible journey.
At the absolute core of Baba's path is this idea called bhakti. And it's not about complicated rituals or anything like that. It's simply the path of the heart. It's the practice of love, of surrendering your ego, and of recognizing that sacred spark in every single person and everything around you. So if you take anything away from this, let it be this. True success isn't just about what you achieve out there in the world. It's about merging that with a sense of inner peace. Spirituality isn't about running away from the world. It's about diving deeper into it. And the most powerful tools you have are incredibly simple: love, service, and an open heart. This path isn't just for a select few. It is available to every single one of us at this very moment.
Which leaves us with a question that could pretty much change everything. Is the greatest success an inside job? The story of Neem Karoli Baba and Silicon Valley seems to scream that, yeah, worldly achievement is pretty empty without inner peace. If you're tired of feeling lost in all the noise of the material world, and you want to experience that same kind of grace that guided people like Steve Jobs, you really need this mystical blueprint. For this explainer, we used Abhishek Srivastava's incredible book, The Invisible Journey, as a source, and I've put a link to it in the description. I really recommend you get the book, invite that grace into your life, and start your own invisible journey today.